Check this out, 7 bike shootouts, super bikes. If you want to buy one of these bikes and you're not going to take it to the track, you're not getting your money's worth. We're here at Fast Track at Auto Club Speedway, and Tom, what are we going to do with this? I think this is going to be one of our closest sport bike shootouts ever.
It is close because we've got a brand new Suzuki and we have a brand new Honda over there. They've really upped their game this year. They've reached the same level in electronics that these Euro bikes have had. Kawasaki came out a couple years ago with good electronics, and so did the Yamaha. Now all 4 Japanese brands have good electronics. And on the street, you can use them to some degree, but out here on the track, this is where they really come into play.
EBR, we got the chance to throw it into this shootout as our V-twin representative because Ducati's North American arm didn't bother bringing the big Panigale into their press fleet, so we don't have a V-twin Ducati here. The EBR, it brings some points for being the cheapest bike here at about 14,000. Next step up is the Suzuki at 15,000 in its base model. There's a 1000R version that's more expensive, but it's not yet available. And then there's a whole bunch of bikes in the $16,000 range. The Honda, the Yamaha, and the Kawasaki. Coming in just at the top end of 16,000, the Aprilia at 17,000. It's the RR model, not the higher spec RF. And then coming in with the biggest price is BMW, because BMW just can't give us bikes without a whole bunch of options. This thing, you can get it for like about 16 grand, but with the options we have, including forged wheels and the electronics package, electronic suspension, it's about 19,000. So it's a little bit of an outlier itself. And we got to give a big shout out to our friends at Bridgestone who provided us these awesome R10 track day tires that we're using on all the bikes, so they're on equal footing. We've been burning them up pretty heavily here at Auto Club with a lot of acceleration zones, and the back tires have been balling up. That's a sure sign of fun when you're at a racetrack. And we got to thank our new friend over here, Fabrice Wilder. He's an expert level club racer, and we brought him out to put in some fast lap times for us and give us an expert level opinion of these bikes. Fabrice, what have you learned here in over 2 days here at Auto Club?
Well, I was, as you guys mentioned, the last 2 bikes to hit the showrooms here, the Honda and the Suzuki, I was really impressed with how they upped their game. The new platform is significantly user-friendly on the racetrack as well. If I was to just buy a motorcycle and do a couple track days, this Honda was phenomenal. Electronics are amazing, from the auto blip, the quick shifter, everything is fantastic on it, and effortless fast laps.
Agree. I like the Honda. The upgrade over last year's model is much more than I think any of us expected, either here at the track or in our separate street test that we did. I would like us, we came here so we could do 1000cc bikes at top speed, and that's what it gave us. I would really like to see the Honda at a tighter track because it would really glow even better than some of these other bikes because of its easy transitioning, its flickability, its lightness. It was 10 pounds lighter than any bike here, full of gas and everything else. When we were talking about it in the pits, you reminded me that the Honda's got a little bit shorter wheelbase, and it's lighter, so it's going to feel a little looser.
Exactly, so it's a give and take. You have a longer bike, you'll be a little bit more stable at high speeds and on certain tracks in particular. But if you were to bring this motorcycle at Streets of Willow, for example, it would shine even more.
Yeah, the Honda, for me, the agility is incredible, and the Takiko brakes, there's a whole bunch of Brembos here, and I thought, okay, they're not going to be so good. They are really good. The only part that Honda really falls a little bit short of the rest is the top speed down this long straightaway.
Absolutely, and this is something that I had to swallow coming out of the last corner before the straightaway. I knew I was going to give a few bikes to my competitors today because there was a few people on the racetrack today, but I would catch them on the braking, and I would catch them going into the corners, and mid-corner speed was fantastic on this thing, and coming out of corners again, once you start feeling the bike, and it's fantastic. Not to say there's no pros and cons, there's not a perfect motorcycle out there, but I think all around, I'm very happy with this thing.
I did have like one little nit where the engine, and possibly the gearing as well, in the Kawasaki, I had to change my gearing pattern around the racetrack. I had to go down in the tight corners into a first gear. The Suzuki, I could keep that in second gear as I could the BMW or the Aprilia. Now, me just being a lazier rider, that makes it easy for me. If I'm a street bike guy, I want to come to the track, do a track day, it's easy just to go down to second gear than it is first gear. But having said that, that's me being just a more leisurely track day guy. And then as Fabrice as a more, expert level racer, going down to first gear or whatever wasn't such a big deal.
That new Suzuki with their variable valve timing did an amazing job at finding both mid-range and top end, which is incredible because really you're talking about the best of both worlds.
Suzuki really surprised me at the track with its mid-range and its acceleration in the top end, and that was the biggest shock for me of the 2 track days.
It has a broader power band, and I felt that was a real advantage here at the track and on the street. And the GSX-R1000R that we don't have here, it's not yet available in the US, it has the auto blipping downshifter, quick shifter, upshifter, and cornering ABS. So there's some nice benefits there on the 1000R model. That's only about $1,000 bucks, I think, more expensive than the ABS base model we have here.
I would definitely opt for that additional expense. I think it would transform the bike and really put it in the running much further up than it already is.
The Suzuki felt planted, great motor, pulled like mad, flickable, light. The electronics on it felt great. I love the way the thing sounded.
Mr. Joey Lombardo, who's a chassis whiz, is here tuning for Kawasaki. Rumor has it that Jeremy Toy was out here helping him refine settings before we were here, and that thing is dialed in. The faster you go on it, the harder you push it into the corner and through the corner, the happier you are and the more exciting it feels. If you just ride it around, it feels a little boring because the engine doesn't have a big hit anywhere. It doesn't really sparkle or shine or do anything remarkable until you start really trying to push hard on it. Then it just comes alive and it feels great. Like, it's not nervous. It keeps telling you can go faster through here, and sure enough you can, and then you do, and then it feels even better than when you do that.
Kawasaki is fantastic. I love the way the thing feels. It is extremely easy to ride. It feels a little softer to me, a lot less harsh edged than the Aprilia, and the way it made power was fantastic. It felt more like a bigger bike. It felt really stable coming in over anything with any ripples or anything I would hit. It just felt really planted.
That Kawasaki is no joke. If you want a lethal weapon and you're willing to put in the effort, this is a very rewarding motorcycle, but you have to put in the effort.
I gotta give props to the Kawasaki because I hadn't ridden that bike. It came out last year, and the front end of that thing is as good as I've felt on any Japanese bike. It's got that balance-free fork and the Brembo M50 calipers that we've all adored for a couple of years now on other bikes. And that front end was sensational. And the bike feels a bit big, fat, but it does not handle that way, and the front end was exceptional.
The BMW was a freight train for me. This thing doesn't stop accelerating and makes so much power top end, extremely stable and predictable as well.
Well, I like what you said about the BMW being a freight train, because as you come onto the banking up here on the far end of the straightaway, you're hitting a couple of ripples and the bars are doing like this, right? And so for me to get a good drive, I'd have to be in the right particular place and be plying the throttle. And on the Aprilia or any other bike here, I had to be like a scalpel. The BMW, I could be 2 feet over here or 2 feet over here, and as soon as I hit that straight, I just pulled the trigger, and I was still doing top speed faster than most of the bikes here.
You're correct, very forgiving, and you're on rails on that thing. There's very, you can get on the gas and forget about it. It's going to take you where you're pointing. Absolutely, well said.
That's a bike that I've never really had as a favorite, but it's set up for this track. Its prep work, the way it is tuned right now, is really well suited to the racetrack. It was friendly everywhere and ballistically fast on the straights. I mean, it's got so much motor, and it's very light handling. It's kind of a cross between the Kawasaki's stability and the Honda's nimbleness. It's almost an easy winner.
Easy to ride. It's a fantastic bike. I know why my friends like them. I see why so many people have them. It does everything great. Just confidence inspiring. Get on the bike, twist the throttle, go. Don't think about anything. It's a fantastic bike.
It's old reliable in this class. Now, it's kind of hard to call something bristling with as much technology as the BMW old, but it's been around for a couple of years, and it has never put a tire wrong for me. I've ridden them in a lot of different situations, and it would be my go-to bike if I didn't know the other bikes that were around.
And we have one of our famous guest riders also with us, Tai Long Lee, and he's
Is he famous?
Well,
I'm
of course
way
he is in his own
You just
brand.
don't know it yet.
He's sitting on the EBR, which unfortunately for Eric Buell Racing is finishing last in this comparison, but it was nice to have something a little bit oddball. And maybe it's appropriate that Ty's sitting on it.
Well, I love this thing. It looks great. Compared to all these bikes here, it's still a good bike in the grand scheme of things. Don't get me wrong when I say this, and I don't think any of us will say this is a terrible bike, because it's not. It's just in this mixed company here, it just falls short.
It's a bit raw, right?
It's raw. It doesn't have the electronics. It just doesn't have the same feel. For me, it doesn't inspire the confidence that I thought I had in the street test, which I really dug. And I think if you're at that pace, it's good. Here, it just falls short.
You know, I'm pretty surprised, and I'm pretty happy to report that I think the Yamaha has redeemed itself. I think it was a pretty big letdown for us on different tires at Laguna Seca, and I think just the actual test bike we had 2 years ago had some issues. And we had trouble on the street, we had trouble on the track, it just didn't impress. And it won every other magazine shootout that year. Got on it on the street and it seemed a lot better to me. Got on it here and it seems like it's in a completely different world. The way it leaps out of the corners with its mid-range surge, the way it sounds, of course, is great. But also, it's a demon on the brakes. It will just stand right on its nose, and that's, when you're a guy like me, all the time comes in corner speed and the braking zone, and you give it all back coming out of the corner and on down the straightaway, because physics are physics and I can't fight them. So the Yamaha plays to some strengths for me.
And let's give the Aprilia props, because I saw of all the bikes, the highest top speed I saw on a speedometer, factory speedometers, take it what you will, but the highest numbers I saw was on the Aprilia. So that thing has got the top end beans to run with the BMW as well.
We did do a shootout last year, me and Troy, with the Kawasaki and the Aprilia. So same track, same bikes. This bike won by a hair. And to add to what Fabrice was saying, the Ninja, it just takes that little bit more of an nth of a rider to get there. Like I said, we kind of chose this, Troy and I, because of the laziness. Because the Kawasaki, if you let it fall down below 6,000 RPM, it doesn't have that oomph out of the corner.
You got to work it a little bit more,
Right.
but it can be very rewarding. Whereas the Aprilia, you can absolutely wind the gears from it. That V4 is magical.
I love that motor. It feels great. And in fact, to me, the Aprilia feels like a sharper, more serious Honda that maybe takes a little bit more effort to ride. And I've got one, a V4 at home, and I love the way it makes power, and this is so good. It just reminds me of everything I love about motorcycling.
One thing I really like about it is that top end, so any mistakes I might make in the slower stuff, it allows me to make it up in the faster stuff, and has that awesome grunny noise coming out of it. It made me wish I'd brought my brown leathers a couple times, but other than that, it was a joy to ride.
And let's not forget the up and down quick shifter on this one. That, again, laziness, you don't get any more lazier than that, and it's fantastic. Aprilia's got it dialed in really well.
I thought it did everything well. A beautiful chassis, is also great electronics. The Aprilia's great all around, a little bit heavier, but also quite pleasurable to throw around the racetrack. It's such a tight race to the top with all these bikes here. They all have something to bring to the table, and it was tough for me to even come out with a winner, but I have to, and I race a Yamaha, so I'm a little partial when it comes to that motorcycle. We're close here, and if I was to choose one that I would be comfortable on the street to do a couple track days that I would have fun, even coming out of corners, sliding the rear and feeling how progressive the slides are and how communicative the chassis is, Honda's my bet.
My top number one would be the Honda. My number two would be the Aprilia. Number three would be the BMW.
The type of track riding I like is I look for ease in use. And for that, I definitely have to give the nod to the Honda. It's just balanced. It's surprisingly easy to go quickly on it. The power delivery is nice, the braking is nice, the applicability is nice. It appealed to me on every level, and that would be my first choice. Continue with the ease of use theme, I would go with the Aprilia. I'm really been arguing with myself over third place, and I think I'm gonna have to give the nod to BMW.
I saw an old friend on a 15-year-old GSX-R 750. I thought, you poor slob, He said, oh, I'm having a great time, and I'm sure you are, but any of these six, I'm Mick Doohan. I'm coming out of the corners and getting on the gas, and the tires going on all of them. The technology's so good, the traction control's so good. Any of these six are great motorcycles. Aprilia, Honda, BMW, just like on the street, the Aprilia is great. It's just feels short and turns quick to me. The Honda feels almost as good as the Aprilia, and the BMW is, you know, if you miss the corner, it doesn't matter because you just get back on the gas, huh?
The BMW just plows a trench right through the infield
The
wherever it needs
BMW
to go and gets
plows
back on the
trench
tarmac.
wherever it needs to go, yeah. And I was only disappointed in the end when we put Sean on the Buell, and I got on the GSX-R kind of like every session. I haven't ridden here in 10 years. I'm a little rusty. Yesterday morning, I was like, what am I doing out here? I'm an idiot. And by the end of the day today, I'm on that Suzuki, closing up on his big butt, coming down the front straight, going, I'm going to get to pass Sean. I was able to hang with him not because I'm as good as him, but because the Suzuki is that much better than the EBR. And they're closing up on, and a red flag comes out. Red flag. That's it. So Sean wins this one. I'll be back.
I've got the Yamaha in third place. Second place, I've got the BMW for one particular reason, which is 2 years ago, I was on the Aprilia at Laguna Seca. Their setup, they had a bit more shim in the back. They had a little more rear ride height. That bike, when it's set up correctly, a little bit stink bug, a little bit full race style, the harder you push it, the faster your mid-quarter speed is, the better it feels. Unfortunately, this time it's in a little bit more of its street setting. It probably needs 8 or 9 more millimeters of rear ride height to make it really carve the corners perfectly. But the Kawasaki has got that set up. So I've got to give it Kawasaki first, BMW second. I've got the Yamaha third just because it suits my strengths, but the Yamaha, Honda, and Suzuki could damn well be a three-way tie in my book, depending on what racetrack you're at and how they're set up.
How about you, Tom? You've been riding every sport bike that's been made over the last bunch of years. Out of this group here, which are the top 3 in your book?
You could give me the BMW or the Aprilia for Christmas and I wouldn't care either way. I'd be equally happy with these 2 motorcycles. The Honda, it's there, like I said, my lazy nature, I just don't like that I have to row the gears a little bit more. So I kind of like the Suzuki in its mid-range, and the Yamaha for that matter. They just fit my riding style better. So that could be a 3-way tie too. So I got these 2 in first and those 3 in second.
Yeah, for myself, this is a really tough one. The Honda, I'm a smaller guy, and that thing fits me great, and I know it works excellent on the street, and its agility is better than anything else here, except for maybe the BMW with its forged wheels. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not going to put the BMW in my top 3, even though I love this, because this is $19,000, and for $4,000 less, that'll buy a lot of track days and tires. I'll take the Suzuki at 15 grand. But yeah, the Honda's got to come first for me, and just for the sex machine that is the Aprilia and all its stellar electronics, including cornering ABS and the new M50 Brembos with 330 millimeter rotors, that thing just makes you feel like a superstar, some kind of celebrity or something. And when you see 183 miles an hour flash on the speedometer going down the front straight at Auto Club Speedway, you kind of feel like a hero.
You can tell right now, everybody's got a different selection of their top 3. There might be some of the same bikes in their top 3, but I don't think we have a clear winner yet. We know the Honda's really good. Every bike here has a particular strength and maybe a few weaknesses. We have a varying degree of prices, you know, from $15,000 right here to $19,000 on the BMW, $10,000 actually fire sale on the EBR, if you're looking in that type of price range. So we're gonna go back, we're gonna factor in everything. We'll have a clear winner at Motorcycle.com, so go check it out there if you really want to know who's on the top of this sport bike heap. And whatever you do, if you're looking to buy a new bike for 2017, buy one of these and take it to the racetrack. We'll see you at Motorcycle.com. Man, I'm telling you, we need cigarettes. We need cigarettes right now. Everybody smoked in Reservoir Dogs, damn it. Troy and I did a butt pat on one time.